Welcome to Conscious Living Collective, the place where we explore the fascinating intersection between science, mindfulness, and personal growth. My name is Tomek. I'm a scientist, teacher, and transformation coach. And I want to talk to you today about something very important that I have many discussions about. But before starting that, I want to acknowledge your wonderful presence here and so many familiar faces. Hello, Karen. Hello, Anita. Hello, Lisa. Anne, Meg, Cheryl. Very good to see you here. How are you today? How is everything? I think it's very important before we jump into the topic and we start discussing things, just to acknowledge your presence here and the fact that you are the most important part of these sessions and I'm just facilitating them. Hello, Kimberly. Oi. Hello, Mary. Very good to see you. So we are here once again, different time this week, simply because I had a course that I had to take yesterday that took the entire day. And I decided that I don't want to skip the session of Conscious Living Collective this week. So I simply shifted to, which is my Tuesday. For most of you, it's maybe Monday evening. And here we are with the topic that has been discussed so many times and came to my attention some time ago, but I think it's no longer... It's very difficult to ignore the kind of elephant in the room that has been discussed so widely, pretty much everywhere. And this is topic of the disclosure of the information about simply the fact that we might be a part of much larger universe. And my job today, and my intention for today, is to put this disclosure, so to speak, into the context of what we are here for, both on Conscious Living Collective, but also here as a species, put in the terms of our human evolution. Before I jump into that, there's only 16 of us here, and I think we are a very cozy and nice circle in which we can discuss things openly. What is your take here? All the disclosure, all this, what they're being called, congressional hearings and many whistleblowers and journalists covering that very topic. It goes without saying that the popular culture and certainly the sci-fi genre cover that in great extent. But this is not the same. We're touching upon something that, again, it's very different. Some may say it's real. So before I move further, I simply want to know, what is your take on the whole disclosure topic? And as always, I invite you to be honest and be open about your take. There's no judgment on it. There is certainly not in the space of Conscious Living Collective. If anything, and that's going to be my take today, it's simply part of our evolutionary path. Not only the external one, this is the important part, but also the internal one. So I will wait for you to type your take on disclosure today. What do you know? What do you think about it? Is it simply a matter for sci-fi movies? Is it something that you are deeply convinced about? Or maybe, only maybe, it's something that you don't care about or you haven't even heard about. That's absolutely okay as well. All right. Peter wonders why they choosing not to disclose it yet. And obviously there's a matter of they. Who are they who are not disclosing or disclosing things? Because certainly until recently, the whole topic was limited to maybe a blog post, maybe people having first encounters and personal experiences. But now it entered the stage of the presidents of countries talk about it. Congressional hearings are being held. It is part of mainstream media, which again, perhaps is the least convincing argument, the whole conversation, because, well, if I hear something from the mainstream media or through even worse, social media, that's the first red flag for me. Okay, so we have Peter. Anybody else on the topic of disclosure? And as you gather your thoughts, I just want to say that today we are listening to, once again, Peter Helland and his wonderful piece called Within. And I've chosen the piece Within because indeed every session of Conscious Living Collective, including this one, is a discovery of more what happens within. And I will make a connection with it later on. Anita, what is happening in the US lately is very troubling. I am not sure what recent disclosure are being released, but there are many activities it's engaged in are abhorrent. And I'm really glad you shared that with us, Anita, because a lot of things, and maybe disclosure is one of those things, I don't know, that happen in the world is indeed a smokescreen for far more important things that happen behind the stage. And for us as a members of Conscious Living Collective, that's what I always encourage you to, is to look beyond what's obvious, what's in front of your eyes, what's on your mind, what's on your conditioned mind, and look beyond it, because disclosure ultimately, and that's one of the things I want to point out you towards, is not an external affair, but it is indeed an internal affair. That's why, as Peter Helland asks us to do, look within. Look within. Karen, not giving much thought to it, and yet until I have more information. And Karen, thank you so much for sharing that, because this is very much the stance I'm taking right now. And I simply will share with you certain informations and my point of view, and I will ask you to be skeptical towards everything that you see and hear, and take the stance of a good scientist. Look at the evidence, look at what is happening, and before we are getting excited or scared, let's just sit back and observe, exactly in the same way as we always observe our thoughts in meditation. There is no difference here. When you listen to your thoughts, it's so easy to get identified and engaged. And the question is every single thought that you have, that you experience, truth? Is it really every single thought that you have worth following? In my personal case, the answer is resounding no. Dear God, as a matter of fact, my work over many, many years was to see my thoughts as a product of a conditioned mind, of something that I want to happen. Not even I, but my conditioned mind wants to happen because it's a projection of the desires, of the wants and needs. Anita, the smoke screens are infuriating and meant to distract, as you say. I was thinking that I want to disinvest in the companies that are supporting the current administration. Love the scientific web project recommend. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. Meg, yes, as with so many things before, it feels like a bizarre smokescreen and distraction from what is worse. That is interesting. So I want to take you through, as a part of our discourse, I want to take you through the kind of objective look at what is happening right now. And most importantly, what has been happening in the past. What is happening in the future is difficult to discern because we are in the midst of it. But there are certain things in the past that are very clear, that we have much better perspective on. Mary, I have to say, uncertainty or skepticism seems to be the only way to engage or disengage. Wonderful. And that's what we're going to do today. So first of all, let me just present you, as I try to suggest in the title of our Conscious Living Collective, that the disclosure builds on outer revelations, right? Things that seem either impossible or unlikely, but exciting, but ultimately is all about the inner awakening to the truth that has been already there. And why I say that? Because look at the history. The moments of disclosure throughout our history are not uncommon. And I want to start with my fellow Polish man, Nicolaus Copernicus, that we all know. Nicolaus Copernicus was the one of the first that proposed that Earth is not the center of the universe. As a matter of fact, we are just one of the planets revolving around the sun. I think there are very few at this current state, at this current time, that would question the fact that planet Earth is not the center of the universe. But back then, not so long, just a couple of 100 years ago, that was a thesis for which people were burned at the stake. People were killed. As a matter of fact, with Galileo Galilei, another prominent figure, a scientist, by supporting this view, triggered tremendous resistance of the Inquisition. This is something this is a part of our history books. This is something that happened in the past, something that nobody questions anymore. The fact that Earth revolves around the sun and it's just a small part of the big universe. Nobody questions that. And yet, imagine the time when this was a tremendous revelation and made people very scared. As a matter of fact, Inquisition, being part of the institutional church, try to keep a certain knowledge for themselves as a tool of manipulation, thinking that they have monopoly for knowledge. They have monopoly for truth. So now ask yourself, does it resemble the situations that we are currently in? Have we learned from the history that governments, governing institutions tend to withhold certain information in order to keep you from the truth, because truth tends to be a very powerful tool. Knowledge tends to be a very, very powerful tool. And disclosing certain information can have the opposite effect. And I think the one part of, I want to turn this and other examples of very now readily established Francis Bacon, thank you, Charles Darwin, the theory of evolution. As a matter of fact, I know few of my former friends that still believe that evolution is not a thing, right? Evolution is just a fad. Even though there's so much evidence to support that, so much truth that is grounded in the theory of evolution. As a matter of fact, even though the physical evolution of the species is just one aspect of what we consider here, I rather think about what we're doing here. It's the evolution of the mind, evolution of your worldview, expansion. Evolution, by definition, is expansion of your worldview. However, and I want to point you out towards basically three ways of thinking about disclosure and the fact that we are not alone in the universe. There are different aspects, different realities, both physical and non-physical, that fall into that category. Most of the people, there's a group of people that will respond in disbelief. I don't care about it. I don't want to hear about it. I like what I know. There's the other group, people that most of the time they feel very dissatisfied with the reality that they have, and they want to jump on the bandwagon of, yes, I want something new, because simply I cannot and I will not accept the reality as it is, because I've been suffering for long enough to know that this is not for me. But I invite you to be, like myself, a part of this third group that simply sits back and looks within. What feels about the expansion of your worldview important to you? The unknown that we slowly try to consider, and the unknown that they're dealing with, inevitably will cause a disruption to your nervous system. This is the first response of every human, of every being, to the unknown, particularly of disclosure of that caliber. Earth is round. Earth does not evolve. Universe does not evolve around the Earth. We evolved. We simply not appeared out of nothing. To give you, again, come back to a couple of those examples of that absolutely fried our circuits at some point, and the response of it was with fear and anger and violence. So ask yourself, don't we see history repeating itself right now? Is it the current structures keeping us from knowing the truth, most importantly, from expanding our worldview? Think about it. Think about what happens every time you sit into meditation. A lot of times you sit to meditation because you're dissatisfied with the confrontation of reality and what's in your limited ego conditioned perception. You will feel friction, resistance. So any revelation, any disclosure can be considered an internal affair. It happens within you. It may be triggered by the external. That's why I call the outer revelations inner awakening. Outer revelation is only there to trigger your inner awakening. And think to yourself, what have you been doing here on Insight Timer during sessions of Conscious Living Collective since the very beginning? I always ask you, confront the knowledge. Everything I tell you, be skeptical, scientifically precise. What does it do to your personal experience? How you deal with that knowledge. Knowledge does not equal understanding. An immature or naive belief in a little green man is not the same as expanding your worldview to include not only planet Earth, but for instance, what is a current knowledge right now, which wasn't a common knowledge until recently, that, well, there are other planets. Moreover, there are not also other planets, there are other solar systems. There are other galaxies, and billions of them. So now, obviously, the following question is, as Fermi said, if Fermi was a very prominent scientist, described many laws governing being in physics used until today. And he said, if we are the only species in the universe, it's a tremendous waste of space. And I know this is kind of a triggering thesis and poking the bear, so to speak, but it is a curious thing to consider. And ultimately, the acceptance of any disclosure, and this is the point I'm trying to make, is not something that we take face value. It's not something that we hear, we want to believe. It's something that requires expansion of our inner universe, because our inner universe is a representation of the only universe that we know. This is the universe that they deal with. If something is not in your view, you don't know about it. You cannot possibly accept it or understand it. And I'm not talking, by the way, only about our 6 physical senses. Pretty much in every single meditation that I invite you to is actually go beyond the 5 physical senses. Or if you include thinking as a 6th sense, in Zen tradition, it is considered a 6th sense. The 6 senses, I ask you to go beyond it because there is more to explore. Our limited ego beliefs will never cease to be expanded. If you, any of you, right here on Insight Timer, in the session of Conscious Living Collective, want to stay simply within the realm of what we know, you are very likely to suffer. Why? Because change is the only constant in the universe. And change of our worldview, of our inner perspective, should be considered, I hate using the word should, but is to be considered one of the constants that follows that ultimate universal truth about expansion and continuous change. Anita, I love former President Obama's response to recent revelations having to do with non-Earth-based beings. Their existence is likely, and our ability to, I think you haven't, to know them is limited. This is a beautiful point, Anita, and I want to pick up on it. Because ultimately what we are considering here is not necessarily knowing with simply our physical senses. There are many people that had experience on the level of the physical senses, but my experience, that is, by the way, available to all of you at all times, has to do with non-physical. When you tap into meditative space, when you feel sudden expansion that you cannot explain, this is a part of disclosure that we all seeking for. It's not something that happens within the realm of your physical senses. Something that has been both scientifically and experientially followed for a long time is the out-of-body experiences. Many people have near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. They consider connection with something that is greater than them, something that is more profound, something that left them in the sense of awe, which is obviously a positive term, a positive sense or positive experience. And I think for those who have these experiences, all of them, even if initially they react with fear, the following experience is that of expansion, of feeling humbled, of feeling loved, included, and accepted on the scale that were not known before. So I ask you, when do you experience that? Do you need a little green man in order to change your life? Do you need to, as we are always asked, consider this, we are continuously asked through commercials, this product, this pill, this thing will make your life better. That's entire business model is based on that very belief that external things are there to change our lives. And time over time, again and again, we've proven that even if there's something external has ability to change our state momentarily, it does not change who we are. State, as Ken Wilber says, is not equal to a trait. State versus trait. You may feel good for a moment, but doesn't expand you as a human being. Does it take your consciousness to the next level, expands it permanently? Absolutely not. And I think something that have been considering during these sessions of Conscious Living Collective, I've been preparing you, so to speak, is not to accept little green man, but to accept larger reality that has always been there. The larger reality in the same scale as Copernicus or Darwin or Galileo Galilei suggested to us. Is not just your country. It's not just your continent. It's not just our planet. It's not just our solar system. There is a more and more and more because expansion always continues. It's a universal truth about the universe. Whether it's a physical universe or non-physical universe, whether it's a universe on the societal level, and this is the change that we talk about here, or the far more important one on the individual one. Because when you change yourself from within, you started perceiving around you things that were always been there, by the way. But you simply were outside of your awareness because your worldview was too constricted. No, the world was always expanded or expansive. The only thing that was narrow was your personal individual world of view. Viviana points out towards the very recent documentary called Age of Disclosure, and thank you for bringing that up because certainly this is something that I haven't watched it yet, but it's one of those outer revelations I mentioned in the title of our Conscious Living Collective today, that has a potential, only potential, as everything else, to create an inner awakening. And what is inner awakening? Is opening your perception to the reality that is beyond what you already know. It's simply expanding your knowledge, expanding your understanding. And nobody, absolutely nobody, including me, is not capable of expanding your understanding but yourself. The idea that, again, there's a pill, there's a coach, there's an event, there's a thing, an object that will do that expansion for you, it's a fallacy. We will be, in a moment, we will be meditating together, but I cannot meditate for you. only thing I can do and I will do is to invite you to our wonderful collective in which we feel included, in which we can individually explore the limits of our own belief. There'll never be more powerful statement than this. Exploration of your own limitations in any aspect, physical, non-physical, in the aspect of your beliefs, in aspect of your relationships, will be the main focus of your life. Your struggles, your suffering, your anxiety, your fear, your desperation will always point out towards that, of you expanding your understanding, your worldview, your perception towards a larger and larger and larger universe. And universe, I'm using in the umbrella term for everything, every layer, every aspect of your existence. Does make sense? Can you share maybe any of you an experience from your life that expanded your worldview? Was that of the caliber that really changed your perception and your view on the world? I'll wait a bit and wait for your comments. Mary says, oh yeah, I missed that comment. But how much do we know the earth? Consider indigenous traditional ways of seeing all as part of living organism. Mary, thank you so much for bringing that up. As a matter of fact, part of this conversation is really inspired by indigenous cosmologies. The disclosure, the way I understand it, is not really directed to indigenous cultures. Indigenous cultures knew, and they included naturally in their cosmologies, presence of non-human intelligent beings. Look at the paintings. Look at the indigenous, particularly Mary, I know you from Australia, and I live here, and studying the indigenous cultures indicates the true connection to the world as is, connection with nature, connection with a lot of things that for us Westerners are very difficult to accept because of our limited point of view. We might have technology, yes, that they didn't possess. But I think on the level of conscious evolution, indigenous cultures are much more evolved. Not because they are more, they know equations for speed of light, or they know mathematical formulas, but simply because their mind is not so narrow and so conditioned. They're much more open to the truths. And for them, it's much easier to accept them. So again, indigenous cosmologies, Vedic text, Gnostic traditions that I know from my own Christian tradition, even mainstream religious frameworks have always included non-human intelligent beings in us. It's only the Western culture that now is catching up with what we call alien. There's nothing alien about it. We're not introducing something alien into spirituality. We're reconnecting thread that has always been there, which once again points out towards that one truth, that Carl Jung said, it's not about discovering new horizons, it's about developing new eyes. We simply growing our understanding to start perceiving that that's something that has always been there. The difference is now that we are invited through those congressional hearings, through documentaries, through personal accounts. We are invited not only individually, but collectively. The internet that allows us, like nervous system in your body, collect different organs, it allows us to connect information much faster throughout the entire human race. Information that is being disclosed now in one part of the world can travel instantaneously pretty much to any other part of the world. It works like a nervous system. And the difference is, again, we are now, because of nature of the travel of information, we are all invited. We are invited as a collective to expand. And we know for a fact, you may want to believe something, right? And you can consider it for yourself. But if you're surrounded by 10, 20, 30 people, that view is of that, well, once again, Earth is not center of the universe, but there's a solar system and other planets, other galaxies. It's so much more difficult to adhere to that view that, no, actually not. We are not. We are just one planet, one species, and there's nothing else. And that's why collective, including conscious living collective, experience has potential to be so much more transformative, has ability to put you on the fast track to expanding your own worldview. It's an invitation because you feel included. You already feel here. We already feel included. We feel accepted. We feel acknowledged because that's what conscious living collective is. I'm not asking you to change your views. I'm asking you to simply be with us. Simply to see for yourself at the pace that you wish, at the pace that you choose. Three comments. My brother's death at the age of 20, I was 19, felt like he'd visited me before I learned of it. I was in Japan, and the various ways of seeing life impressed me deeply as a result. Anita, thank you so much for sharing that, and my condolences. I know it's been a long time ago, but this is an experience that I refer to. It's a deeply personal experience that change your worldview and cannot really convince anyone individually that they should believe in one thing or another. Nobody needs to convince you now that this happened and this is true. It simply convinces you about the existence of the larger reality and the connection beyond the physical world and physical existence. Connection with your brother. And that is real. What is happening now? More and more people coming on board with the disclosure, talking about it, discussing it, simply do it on the larger scale. Right? Viviana, growing up in a developing country with an active and long history of war and violence helped me shape my view of the world to mature at a younger age and be aware of reality. By knowing evil, I feel more protected against it. This is one of the things that we're doing here. We are all our personality is a product of centuries, if not thousands of years of evolution. And war is one of these aspects that happens to us all the time. Actually, and feel free to put in your opinion. I'm absolutely shocked that in this age of our evolution and knowing our history, we still allow invasions in foreign countries. We still experience wars. We are at the brink of the global war. What is that about? Is that a sign of our maturity? That we still need to resolve conflicts, particularly conflicts within us, with a war, with the religious wars, with the economical wars, with all sorts of other warfare? That doesn't seem like an evolved species to me. Does it? And I remember standing on the balcony looking out at the ocean and an island and the sudden feeling internally, knowing that the most direct way there was not over the water but through myself. Hard to explain, but this feeling transformed me. I've felt a couple of times in my life, and each time it amazed me. I think, and this is the response to my question about your moments of transformation. So again, thank you, Anne, for sharing that. As in the case of Anita, this is a personal transformation that trumps every single me talking about it or me trying to convince you about something. Personal, first-hand experience. Always, these experiences have much greater repercussions on you and your view of the world rather than some external things. That's why, once again, I want a year of disclosure. Out the revelations, but inner awakening. Out the revelations only point out towards something that is a very personal affair, which is inner awakening. And these have, by far, the greatest impact on who we are and how we look at the world. Barbara, first timer, but I've listened to your tracks in the past. I love your message. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you for being here. I understand that today it's a very unique session of Conscious Living Collective. It's a controversial topic, I would say, but I'm glad that you are here. Paula, I think Paula will, for the first time, I was climbing up a steep cliff on the side of a mountain. I came to a point where there were no handholds or places for my feet. I began shaking uncontrollably and knew I couldn't go up or back down. In that moment, I let go of my fear and noticed a handhold, a place to put my foot, and I easily climbed to the cliff, being faced with something I knew I couldn't do, and all along it changed me. This is such a wonderful story. And you know what I love the most about this story? Is the fear factor. When we are in the face of the unknown, when we see our minds see no choice, we react with fear. And the moment we let go of fear, all of the myriad of choices just opens up. And that's when transformation happens. How wonderful, Paula. Laurie. So Paula and Laurie, first timers. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm very glad that you are here. Do you have any comments or questions towards today's topic and the subjects we're talking about? And as you come up with your answers, feel free to type them in the comment section. I just want to thank you for your presence here and for contributing to our conversation. And I want to express my gratitude for your continuous support and coming here and being open to learn, being open to the unknown. And as Paula said, to conquering one thing that always needs to be conquered is the fear of unknown, the fear the trap that is our mind that always wants to keep things the way they are. Laurie, I'm not sure what to expect. I'm full of fear all the time, and I mean all the time. Listen to you regularly. Laurie, you are not alone. The reason what I am talking about these difficult, maybe controversial topics is to clear the path towards the abundant open sky. For you to be able to find courage, to give you courage to overcome the fear, whatever that fear is, because we are all afraid these days. If I look for one reason for the state of the world today, is not the war, is not the social collapse, but it's the fear that underlines everyone and all bad decisions. There's a universal law that I follow. Every decision that is made in fear is a bad decision. It's a decision that takes us towards lower vibration, toward de-evolution. On the larger scheme of things, on a long term, that might turn out to be positive. But fear is a terrible master. And everybody who follows the path of fear and makes decisions purely on the basis of being afraid, it's a terrible place to be. And I know this is one of the most difficult things that can be done today, because we are all afraid. We are all afraid today. Mary, the feeling is one of opening the heart as much as or more than opening the mind. Thank you, Mary, for that very comment. Because even though I communicate with you on the level of the intellect, and the words certainly on the vibrational level come from the intellect, I 100% agree with Mary that our transformation happens way faster and much more through your heart than through your brain. That's where we enter our meditation. The invitation for the meditation today is to open your heart and look at your current experience and who you are, not from the perspective of your brain, from the perspective of your thoughts, but from your heart. Thank you, Mary, for pointing that out. This is exactly what we need these days. The fear comes from the brain. Heart is much more courageous. And once again, there's no surprise that we will continue with Peter Helland and his wonderful peace within. Barbara, fear, the nature of the fear is that we do feel alone, because fear is one vibration that takes us deeper into sense of alienation. So there's no surprises there. And right now, I want to invite you personally, invitation to Barbara and to all of you, to join us collectively. We have the power. We have the choice. In this very moment, this might not have been this may not have been the case in the past, or there'll be moments in the future where you are afraid, where you feel alone. But in this very moment, in this time and space, consider that there are 64 of us from around the world sitting together and feel a sense of belonging. Feel a sense of identity, even if the identity is defined by the feelings of loneliness and fear. We're doing it together, and we're looking at the state of the world and our individual state from the heart space. So let me take you to the meditation space or meditation room. And see where this is going to take us. Open your heart. Open your mind. Open yourself towards the possibility that you are not alone. You are not alone in your fear. You are not alone in your beliefs. You are not alone in your experience. Right now, you are, in this very moment, a part of a larger collective that brings identity, brings belonging, makes you feel more at home and more who you really are. Outside of your conditioned mind, so in this very moment, I invite you to shift your awareness and make the longest journey you're ever gonna take. That is only 30 centimeters long, from your head to your heart. And even for 1 second, experience the space in which there are no thoughts, but the sense, somatic experience of all what always has been a belonging to the larger human collective that has been traveling through time to this point where fear is no longer needed, but opening towards larger reality that has always been within you, has always been at your disposal, but for many reasons, we chose not to access it because the conditioned mind took precedence. It always took the space that only shows a fraction of the worldview. It's only one angle. Heart offers much larger, more expansive view of who you are. And one of the reasons for that is that heart doesn't know what fear is on the intellectual level. Heart always beats in any circumstances. Doesn't matter what your brain does, your heart keeps expanding. Keep pushing that energy outwards. The sense of vitality, giving you hope, giving you energy and vitality to carry on in this very present moment. So right now, I invite you to once again shift your awareness towards your heart space and experience the sense of belonging in this very moment. And I will hold the space for you and bring the collective together to expand and explore, and I will bring you back when the time is up. And now, it is time to shift your awareness towards your physical presence, towards your body, and see for yourself if that short journey towards your heart space expanded your state of being on the physical level? Can you feel the difference between how you entered and how you are right now? See for yourself if this is a place to which you wish to return in the future, and connect more, expand more, experience more. Right now, I want to ask you to express your gratitude for this time you have given yourself to embrace who you are, to explore who you are, and to know yourself a little bit better. And to conclude this meditation, simply take one deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And when ready, in your own time, open your eyes and welcome back. Thank you so much for meditating with me. Thank you so much for being here and co-creating this meditative space and space for discussion. How do you feel right now? In one or two words, how would you describe your current state? Robbie, calm, centered, and grounded. Robbie, these are 3 words. Wonderful. Barbara feels incredibly relaxed. Lisa, also relaxed. Anita, peaceful. Hey, Anne. Anne feels calm. Mary, also calm. Thank you, Mary. Hello, Tosca. Better late than never. Very glad you are here. By the way, for those of you who missed first part, you can always find me. The recording of this is on my YouTube channel, so feel free to revisit that. Peter at Peace. Hello, Peter. I know you are here for the first time. And for those of you who are here for the first time, and also for those of you who may be looking for help on your journey, I created a meditation starter kit for all of you, but particularly of those of you who struggle a bit. And the easiest way to get it is to go to my Insight Timer profile and see the link to my website. Under my Insight Timer profile, there's my website, and you go there, a pop-up window will shows up to offer you that starter kit, meditation starter kit that is designed to help you, particularly in times when you struggle, but it goes beyond that. It explains in full what it does. Mimsy, more open, peaceful. Thank you. Thank you, Mimsy. Anne is breathing deeply and feels calm. Karen, I think something wonderful happened here tonight. I feel blessed that I have been a part of tonight's discussion. And I feel very blessed that you are here and continuously are co-creating this space for me and for everybody else. Paula, an abundant silence. How wonderful. How wonderful. So do you have any other questions or comments before we conclude today's session? And as you answer, I just want to say that next week we should come back to the regular time, which is Monday morning here in Brisbane, Australia, and that constitutes, I think, afternoon and evening in the US. I think it's middle of the night in Europe. I'm not sure. Do we have anyone from Europe at the moment? Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your contributions. As always, I want to mention my course that is here on Inside Timer that is designed to help you expand your view, to look at some of the blind spots that stop you from living fully, from embracing this incredible environment of our physical universe. You don't even have to look at the non-physical. It's physical expanded enough to experience it. And when you experience it fully, it leaves you in awe. You don't have to meditate. So this course is towards that. The 6 pillars of conscious living. It's pretty much all my teachings are based on, they are sitting on these pillars. So I know so many of you have already taken this course. It's worthwhile to revisit it or visit for the first time and see what you think. See if there's bits and pieces that help you to feel better about yourself, about the universe, and give you pointers how to do it. Okay. I think we said it all for today. Paula says much gratitude, and I send my gratitude towards you. Thank you once again for being with me. I will leave you with Peter Helland and he's Within. Enjoy. Have a peaceful night. Wonderful day wherever you are. Until next time.